street after their biggest ever lab bust.
We have disrupted and dismantled a large criminal network.
Our retail street value, roughly $5 million.
Police say they followed the trash, illegal dumping leading to the discovery of 2 clandestine labs. Plus, a man is pepper sprayed and robbed in broad daylight at Fairview Mall. Police on the hunt for one of the suspects. And
this is a great honor to have gotten the Hall of Fame award. This from the city of Brampton. It's an incredible honor.
the creator and producer behind the hit CBC series Little Mosque on the Prairie is inducted into the Brampton Arts Walk of Fame. Good evening, I'm Mike Wise. York police have 8 people under arrest tonight after they busted their biggest ever meth production operation. As Greg Ross tells us, police dubbed it Project Discard because it was all started with an investigation into illegally dumped garbage.
The scale of these 2 production sites we would classify as super labs.
It was like a scene from the hit TV series Breaking Bad.
We seized approximately 50 kilograms of methamphetamine when we took this operation down.
That has a street value of around $5 million, but that was just the tip of the iceberg because police also found the chemical ingredients to make meth, enough to produce quantities that would have been worth tens of millions more.
These 2 sites were capable of producing into the hundreds of kilograms of methamphetamine and were in fact drug factories.
But these factories don't just produce meth, they also create a great deal of toxic waste. In the end, it was the waste that led police to these labs.
This investigation commenced as a result of 2 dump sites that were located in our region, one on November 13th and the other on December 2nd.
It was nearby residents who discovered bags and bags of waste and reported it to police. Several more dump sites were also found that police were eventually able to connect to these 2 labs.
With a total of approximately 48,000 pounds of toxic waste that we have to dispose of as a result of these organizations.
Police say with labs of this magnitude, it's fortunate nobody was hurt.
Chemical drug production labs are extremely dangerous as the chemicals involved are toxic, corrosive, flammable, and explosive.
This house behind me on Kennedy Road in Gwillimbury is one of the 2 locations that police say were converted into meth labs. And if you look closely here, you can still see where police kicked in the front door of this house during that raid. Now, a total of 8 people were arrested at the 2 locations, and police say they're still looking for one more man, 34-year-old Van Terong Do. He's wanted on numerous charges, including production of a controlled substance. Police say that 3 children were also taken into the custody of the Children's Aid Society, and 5 vehicles were also seized as part of that investigation. Greg Ross, CBC News, Gwillimbury.
Well, take a look at this video from Fairview Mall this morning. It shows a man being assaulted with bear spray and then robbed of his watch. Now, that watch was a Breitling and it was valued at over $27,000. The mall was evacuated as a result of this. A 23-year-old Guelph man was arrested, but police are still on the lookout for the other suspect. Here's a photo of him. He was seen arriving and leaving in a white BMW 3 Series with a sunroof and damage to the front driver's side headlight. Now, he actually struck another vehicle as he was fleeing the mall parking lot, so the BMW will have more damage on the front passenger side as well. And police have now identified the man who was shot to death at a gas station earlier this month. 32-year-old Nishwan Yonan was shot near Avenue and Eglinton just after midnight about 2 weeks ago. Police say the suspect fired numerous rounds at Yonan. He died from the injuries yesterday in hospital. Detectives are hoping that by releasing his name, they can find out more information about a potential suspect. Yonan is Toronto's 16th homicide victim of the year. And Toronto police are asking for your help in identifying the suspects in this silver Volkswagen. They released this video. It dates from March 2nd, taking place around 3:30 in the morning. You can actually see the shooter emerging from the sunroof here and firing into that black vehicle. This happened in the Warden Avenue and Fur Valley Court area. Police would like to hear from anyone with any information on the suspect's identity. Colette Kennedy's here with the first look at the forecast. Chilly start to our Saturday mornings.
It is a chilly start. We're a few days into this young season of spring, and it's doing its job, essentially taking us on a bit of a ride between going to be seeing some temperatures above seasonal, below seasonal, and that seesaw sort of back and forth. So the windy conditions prevail not only through tonight, but into just the beginning kind of Saturday. And because of that, we're going to have a wind chill factor tomorrow morning. High pressure, because it's in place, means clearer skies through the overnight here. And so we start off with sunshine as well, but it's going to feel like minus 16, minus 17 or so with those winds. The direction of the winds will eventually be coming around through the weekend to the west and then southwest. And so that's really going to help push our temperature up into Sunday. However, later Sunday, we'll have another cold front come through and another shot of chilly air comes back at us. And I'm going to go through all those numbers a little bit later in the show, but for now, I'll let you know that overnight tonight, -8, so feeling like -17, then the winds easing, sunshine, a good afternoon tomorrow with 6 degrees for our high, Mike.
All right, thanks a lot, Colette.
No problem.
So I was right, huh? Islam is a sexist religion.
Only when it's run by men.
Listen, why don't you come on the show this afternoon and talk it up? Always happy to champion a good-looking underdog.
She can't.
It is forbidden for women to speak on the radio.
It is?
It's in the Quran.
Oh, right. It is. Chapter 115.
A clip there from the CBC show Little Mosque on the Prairie. It aired for 6 seasons on CBC, and it was groundbreaking for the time, following the lives of a Muslim family living in rural Saskatchewan. Now, its creator, Zarqa Nawaz, lives there now, but she grew up in Brampton, and tonight her former city gave her a great honor. Our Kelda Yoon joins us live outside the Rose Theatre to tell us more about this. Kelda?
Well, Mike, that's right. Nawaz, she was raised in Brampton, and she actually went to Chinguacousy Secondary School. She now lives in Saskatchewan, but she came all the way back here to her hometown tonight to be honored at the Rose Theatre right behind me. Now, also in attendance were, of course, fans of her work, as well as her parents. And what really made it special, some friends that she hadn't seen from Brampton that she hadn't seen for years, they were also here. So it really made for a very special night for her, some of her close friends. Now, the big moment of the night came at the end when Nawaz was presented with her plaque, officially inducting her into the Brampton Walk of Fame. Now, it was presented to her by Brampton Mayor Patrick Brown, but before that, she was already on stage to read an excerpt from her best-selling memoir, Laughing All the Way to the Mosque. She also took part in a Q&A about her life and her work. As you mentioned, Nawaz is most notably known as the creator of the sitcom Little Mosque on the Prairie, which ran on CBC. It's about a Muslim family living in small-town Saskatchewan. Now, when it premiered back in 2007, it really made a big splash because it was the first sitcom ever to be centered on a Muslim family living in the West, doing ordinary things while straddling two very different cultures. Now, it ran for 6 seasons, was embraced by both Muslim and non-Muslim audiences, and it really, Nawaz was hailed as an important comedic voice. Now, but when I spoke to her earlier tonight, she said it actually took the Muslim community a little bit of time to warm up to the show.
I think that Muslims at first were shocked because I think they had never seen a positive portrayal of their community before, so they were worried that there was some hidden agenda and I would somehow make fun of them or Islam. So it took about a year or two for them to get used to the show and then realize that nothing catastrophic was happening and that non-Muslims were actually watching the show and bonding with them and saying, oh my God, that's how my, community in the church or the synagogue feels and acts, and you guys are just like us. And they realized that the show was giving back the humanity to the community.
And Nawaz is the 22nd person to be inducted into the Brampton Walk of Fame. Now, she got the plaque, but the actual star on the Walk of Fame, which will be right outside here at the Rose Theatre, that will actually come later. I'm told because of construction, the process is a bit delayed. As for what she's up to next, she hopes to do some stand-up, as well as create another TV show in the very near future. She also just finished a book. I'll send it back to you, Mike.
All right, thanks a lot, Kelda.
This is the heart of downtown Mississauga. They should have easy access to transit.
Well, that was the plan when it came to the Hurontario LRT, but not anymore. Coming up in just a couple of minutes, we'll head to Mississauga and check out the big cost-cutting change to the light rail plan. The Ontario Provincial Police is giving a warning to stunt drivers after catching two cars going more than 200 kilometers an hour yesterday evening.
When people start putting on their summer tires, putting on their fancy rims and wheels, all of a sudden they think now on a beautiful day, we're going to open it up and see how good this car feels. Well, I'll tell you, we're going to be out there as well.
The OPP picked up a 20-year-old man from Whitby going 227 down the 401, and then a 19-year-old man from Oakville clocked in at 254 kilometers an hour on the 403 near Eglinton Avenue in Mississauga. We caught the vehicle on its way to the impound. Schmidt says there's been more than 450 street racing charges laid already in the GTA this year, with men aged 18 to 25 as the biggest offenders. A former OPP constable is speaking out about what she calls a lack of support for those struggling with mental health issues in the service. She says she's talking now, given that there was another police suicide this week. She says that officer was a former co-worker of hers. Farah Morali has her story.
It's a stark contrast from working on the front lines as a police constable. But floral design is what makes Sherry Cooley happy these days.
I've been doing this for about 10 years now. I make a lot less money. I don't have a pension, but I'm so happy when I go to work every day. I have no stress.
Cooley retired from the OPP in 2006 after 10 years in the force.
I just felt like I wasn't valued, that my mental health and my personal issues with relations to the job and my family, that they just weren't valued. So
the OPP Association confirmed this week that another officer took his life. That man was Roch Durivanche.
What was your reaction when you heard that name?
Complete shock. I knew Roch when he came on the job. He was a rookie working at the detachment that I worked at, and he was such a solid guy. He'd come out of the military, really smart, really humble.
Cooley says she's speaking out because many officers are still afraid to talk about mental illness for fear of being judged.
Honestly, as time goes on, what the officers go through seems to be getting worse and worse, and it wears on you. And upper management, I don't think, is in touch with that anymore. Not everyone. Some of them are great, but some of them really need to reflect on how they treat people who are suffering because of whatever it is, the job, things at home. It is real. And when someone thinks that they're going to get shamed for saying, I'm not well and I need time off, that's what results in people like Roch taking their lives.
Since 2012, 13 current or retired OPP officers have taken their own lives. In August of last year, the OPP launched an internal investigation into officer suicides. The OPP Association is calling it a mental health crisis in law enforcement.
I'm here to say front and center that, in fact, stigma still creates a significant barrier for those seeking treatment within the culture of the OPP.
I really, really do have hope. They are looking into it.
Cooley has optimism, but it's too late for some. Durivanche is the second officer she's worked with who has now committed suicide.
Two people that I knew well and admired very much. Good men, good officers.
Farah Morali, CBC News, Toronto.
Construction for the long-awaited Huron-Ontario LRT is about to get underway this year. The $1.4 billion light rail line will eventually link Brampton and Mississauga, but Metrolinx is now scaling back its route through the Square One area. As Adrian Chung tells us, that has many condo dwellers living there crying foul.
Stretching over 19 kilometers, nearly 7 years in the making, the Huron-Ontario LRT plan has been called ambitious. A transit plan that falls in line with a rapidly growing Mississauga.
This is the heart of downtown Mississauga. They should have easy access to transit.
The Huron-Ontario LRT will still connect Brampton to Mississauga right down to the lakeshore, but Metrolinx has now canceled 2 downtown Mississauga stops, leaving just one central hub for the LRT in Mississauga. Metrolinx says the stops needed to be axed to get ahead of any potential budget pressures. Mayor Bonnie Crombie says The Ontario government remains committed to this important project, including the promise to cover 100% of the cost needed to build the LRT. Our residents and businesses are depending on it, even with a reduced scope. Real estate agents say residents have been sold a different dream. You know this clientele around here pretty well. What will it mean for the people who live here?
I mean, it's going to be devastating. A lot of disappointment, I feel. A lot of these purchasers were expecting to have the LRT. And I don't know if you're aware, but most of these condos, they don't actually sell the parking with the units. So many have opted out not to get the parking with the solely depending on the LRT being here.
And residents are questioning why work has even started if the final product will never be seen.
Kind of frustrating. So if they stop, that means that is kind of wastage of money. It is our money, tax money.
12,000 new condo units are set to be built over the next 5 years, now without a central transit plan.
A lot of these young individuals that are now getting involved in home ownership, they don't have the access to easy transit.
We spoke to Metrolinx today. It says that $1.4 billion price tag is still in place. It is still being paid for by the province, and the whole LRT is slated to open in 2022. Adrian Chung, CBC News, Mississauga.
The community supports them and is behind them.
A show of support during Friday prayers. People across the GTA gathered outside mosques today to show their support to a Muslim community still shaken by last week's terror attack in New Zealand. We'll bring you that story after the break.
The weather update is brought to you by Train Extreme Conditions Testing. It's hard to stop a train, really hard. Train, the most reliable heating and cooling brand.
A week after the terror attacks at two mosques in New Zealand, people from all faiths in the GTA formed rings of peace outside some mosques in a show of solidarity. Hawaii Fidel reports.
More than 100 people crowded the sidewalk outside Islamic Information and Dawah Center on Bloor, greeting Muslims heading inside for Friday prayer.
It means a lot to me, to the community.
It just really made me feel reassured that I could be safe in a city where I call home.
The crowd shook hands and carried signs, letting their Muslim neighbors know
they're being thought of and that the community supports them.
And that sentiment was echoed in Scarborough as a group of mixed faiths formed a human chain symbolizing peace.
There's no place for hatred, so this ring will definitely create a lot of love, understanding, and respect for each other's relationship.
Around the world, Muslims are being shown support after 50 people were killed during Friday prayer in Christchurch. Hundreds gathered outside this mosque in New Zealand, letting Muslims know they are safe. This Toronto imam says these gestures are comforting.
There would have been some fear. When we see this sort of show of support from the wider community, it reassures us that Canada is a safe place and our world generally is a safe place.
When some of us are hurting, all of us are hurting.
Mayor John Tory spoke at Friday prayer services at Islamic Foundation of Toronto, encouraging Torontonians to stand against Islamophobia.
We're standing together and saying that we're going to work incredibly hard together as a community, as we must, to make sure that the kind of thinking that leads to these horrific acts never finds its way here.
Hawea Fidel, CBC News, Toronto.
The Raptors were hoping to sweep their home-and-home series with the Oklahoma City Thunder tonight after a big overtime victory on Wednesday. Cal Lowry not playing tonight, but Kawhi Leonard was going right in. Paul George in the second could go in and slam it down for two of his game-high 37 points. Now, later in the quarter, Siakam finds Danny Green for the triple. Raptors leading by 9 at the break, but in the second half, it's the Thunder that outscored Toronto by 17 as they go on to beat the Raptors tonight, 116-109. And Mississauga's Bianca Andreescu facing American Sophia Kenin at the Miami Open. Kenin earns the early break to go up 2-1 in the first set, but Andreescu breaks right back. She eventually takes first set as Kenin can't handle the serve. Now, second set ends not with a bang, but a whimper as Kenin double faults on her match point, her 7th double fault of the day. Andreescu advances to the third round as she wins in straight sets 6-3, 6-3. Colette joins us again with her extended forecast. And you got something for everyone in this one. You want cold weather, you got that. You want warm weather, you got that. Everything.
Yeah, so it either means I guess I'm going to please everyone or nobody's going to be happy because they don't get just what they want. But that's the way spring sort of is. We get a little mix of just about everything, including temperatures that rise and that fall. Just pointing out, though, the record snow for this date in history, and it's only back in 1984, and it was less than 5 centimeters. So not very significant, is it? And the record high again today comes from 2012. So they had a string of really nice days back in 2012 because yesterday's record and the day before that highs came from that year, and the same problem for 1939. The lows have been coming from that year over the last few days too. This is what's happening as high pressure is building in. It's nosing that system away, clearing trend through the overnight tonight. We've still got those strong winds from the northwest though, and gusty at least into the very beginning of tomorrow, and then they will begin to ease. That coupled with the sunshine makes for a very pleasant day into the afternoon at least, so part of the day Saturday. And Saturday evening's pretty nice too. Temperatures are going to be above seasonal Saturday night into Sunday. Sunday starts off well too, and not only that, winds out of the west to southwest mean the temperature will rise even further. So I'm going for double digits. It's going to depend how quickly this next cold front comes in. If it comes in sooner, we get more cloud cover in the afternoon, that could put a cap on those temperatures getting up beyond the high single digits. Then this front is going to come through Sunday night into Monday. Could see a dusting of snow as it passes by, hoping to get it out of here before Monday morning's commute, but there could be a little bit of lingering moisture, and that's when colder air comes back in. It gets chilly again. So Sunday, the temperature's up, and then Monday falling once again. A look at those winds and the strength of them. They will be easing off, as I say, into Saturday morning, then changing direction and picking up a little bit into Sunday, but those ones will be helping us out rather than making us feel cool. It's actually going to pick the temperatures up. Overnight tonight for southwestern Ontario as you head into the weekend, -6 for the low, London -7 with that wind chill, but tomorrow's high 7 degrees with sunshine. And for the GTA, the clearing trend tonight, those lows drop down. It is going to feel like minus teens, but tomorrow afternoon is going to be quite pleasant with those highs of 5 to 6 degrees. And there's Sunday, nice conditions there, a little breezy into Monday. Colder air, could maybe only be 1 degree. I'm going with 2, and then we'll gradually come back up again, Mike.
Crazy weather.
We're just going to keep riding.
Up and down, up and down. Okay, thanks a lot, Colette.
You're welcome.
Well, here's a little cuteness to end our week with before we go. Twin polar bear cubs have made their public debut at a Russian zoo. Now, these little guys are already 3 months old. Now, Mom Gerda actually kept them hidden and protected in her den until recently. Zookeepers say polar bears are sensitive and very difficult to breed in captivity. There's only been a handful of cases where the mother bear successfully raised twins in a zoo. So zookeepers are being extra careful, giving Gerda and the cubs a lot of space and a lot of video. That's our show for tonight. Hope you have a great weekend. I'll see you back here on Monday night. Good night.